There is a deeply entrenched cultural assumption about motherhood that the act of breastfeeding ruins breast structure. This idea carries immense psychological weight, driving maternal anxiety, and heavily influences deeply personal decisions about whether or not to breastfeed an infant. But this anxiety is built on a complete misdiagnosis of human anatomy. To understand why, we must examine the body's true structural engineering. Unlike other parts of the body, the breast doesn't contain contractile muscle to hold its shape. It is composed primarily of heavy glandular tissue and fat. So how does it support itself? Look at this 3D wireframe schematic. These intricate web-like bands spanning from the rigid chest wall are Cooper's ligaments. In a pre-pregnancy body, they hold a high level of resting tension, rigidly bearing the load with high tensile strength. This is where the mechanical paradox begins. Society points to the external, postpartum act of nursing as the force that stretches these cables out of shape. But that ignores the massive internal forces that preceded it. To locate the actual point of structural failure, we must rewind the timeline to a systemic biomechanical event long before a baby ever latches. The timeline starts at pregnancy, driven by an invisible chemical catalyst, a hormone called relaxin. Relaxin has a clear evolutionary directive. It targets the dense, rigid ligaments of the pelvis, loosening them to allow the physical passage of a baby during childbirth. But there's a biological loophole. Relaxin doesn't stay confined to the pelvis. It floods the entire system, changing the molecular composition of connective tissue everywhere. When that hormone reaches Cooper's ligaments, their tensile strength plummets. The rigid suspension cables rapidly uncoil and soften into a loose, pliable matrix. The structural scaffolding of the area is chemically compromised months before any mechanical feeding stress occurs. Right as those suspension cables are weakening, the body introduces a massive mechanical burden. Cellular volume and mass rapidly increase as the mammary glands prepare for potential lactation. This diagram illustrates the tension. A massive downward weight pulls against the softened Cooper's ligaments, creating extreme strain. Across the 9-month timeline, continuous gravitational load on elasticized tissue causes it to yield. The ligaments stretch, and tissue volume shifts downward. This architectural remodeling happens entirely in utero. The permanent structural elongation is finished before birth. Pregnancy's extreme physics reshape the internal architecture, rendering the later mechanical act of breastfeeding irrelevant. We don't have to rely on physics alone to prove this. We have the clinical data. A landmark audit by plastic surgeon Dr. Brian Rinker isolated the specific variables that lead to breast ptosis, the medical term for structural elongation. The researchers analyzed a complex array of physiological factors in over 100 women. They looked at age, pre-pregnancy body mass index, past smoking history, total number of pregnancies, and breastfeeding history. This chart plots the statistical significance of those variables. When isolated mathematically, the result is clear. A history of breastfeeding yielded 0 statistical significance in causing structural stretch. The data shows what actually causes the shift. It isolates the number of pregnancies, representing repeated mechanical load, pre-pregnancy BMI for baseline mass, and smoking history, which degrades tissue elasticity. The clinical data mirrors the biomechanics. Sustained gravitational load and internal tissue quality dictate the final shape of the body, not infant feeding. The Rinker study shifts how we view the postpartum body, moving past the common perception that these physical changes represent damage. Cooper's ligaments lengthen as a necessary mechanical response. They are expanding to accommodate a significant temporary surge in tissue volume. Large-scale engineering relies on flexibility to survive pressure. The body follows this principle, softening its internal structure to carry a significant internal load. Recognizing these mechanics allows for a shift in perspective, grounding the experience in physics rather than failure. The resulting shape of the body is a record of these 9 months, a physical conclusion to the high-pressure physics and chemistry of pregnancy.